Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. What is going on, guys? Happy Saturday. I don't know when I'm putting this out. Happy weekend. Happy weekend to all. Hope you guys are having fun out there. Now, let's just get right into it. Candace Owens is unsure of why Kash and the gang, Mr. Patel, as you guys know him, Mr. Medium Jacket, make sure there's patches on the sleeve, Kash Patel, she's unsure of why he left her on red. He and his bureau left her on red when it came to the credible evidence that she had that there was actually a threat on her life. She's unsure of that. What we're going to be doing is digging a little bit into, not too far into Kash, not too far, but a little bit. And then we're going to get into something that I don't know if a lot of people heard about. And I did some digging into whether or not this was real. And it just kind of further illustrates my point of, I don't know if Candace should be bringing that information to the Bureau. I know she has to, but I don't know if that's what she should be doing, quite honestly. Now let's just start off just to preface this whole thing. We all remember when Candace put this whole thing out. She laid out all the information because she really didn't want to get caught in a terrible situation similar to Charlie. So she figured she put out the information right away. But here's the key thing she said as she was exposing all these people who may have put a credible threat on her, and possibly also executed one on Charlie. This is the thing that she said. She said, "I do not know who in the American government can be trusted, since this source claims our leaders are aware." Okay? I want you guys to remember that. Our leaders are aware, she says. So we jump into this, and just to give you a little breakdown of what she said in regards to the Bureau not answering her, she said, "Well, first, let me say I did not hear back from the FBI on the American side. I did hear back from counterterrorism, the counterterrorism unit. I did hear back from the White House confirming that my message had been delivered to the now Prez desk. Me saying that I have information, I guess they didn't want to inquire further, which is interesting, but the Bureau left me on red. No response." So that is where it's been for her. She recently told us that, I believe this week, she actually let us in on that they just left her on red. They didn't say anything, nothing. Now, that should be worrisome. You know, I'm just saying that should be a worrisome thing. I'll get into that as we go through the episode. But Kash Patel actually was forced to address this. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I had no idea Kash had these type of dodging abilities. I mean, this is Neo Matrix level dodging abilities. I didn't know Smith agents could dodge this well. It's amazing. But the question is asked by Megyn Kelly. Listen.
There's been an allegation made by prominent podcaster Candace Owens that she's received a death threat, a credible death threat from the French, that a threat has been made on her life, and that the French, she's been told, also may have had a role in Charlie's assassination. Have you looked into either of those? Do you believe she's received a credible death threat from the French, or that the French had something potentially to do with Charlie's death?
Any American that receives a death threat from overseas or anywhere in America is going to be fully investigated. So we're not going to turn our eye away from that investigation or any others. If there's anything to it, this FBI will respond to it.
Okay, but so far, no.
So we are just looking at everything that comes in. We're not going to reject any piece of information. If someone feels that their life is being threatened, we are, of course, looking at it.
All right, guys, there's 3 things I need you to do. Like, subscribe, and go check out the Patreon. That's it. Get back to the episode. So that's it. He won't even say her name again. I've stressed this in other episodes that I've recorded. I don't know what order they'll be released in, but you aren't even allowed in this whole thing of I'm just going to say you're not even allowed to mention her and have it be in a positive or neutral light without getting some kind of attack, some kind of backlash, right? You're only allowed to be furious with her. You're only allowed to say that she's threatening the Kirk family. You're only allowed to say she's burning down the Turning Point legacy. You're only allowed to say it's because of her that midterms are being lost. You're only allowed those few talking points as to make her look crazy and evil. That's it. So not even Kash can say her name and say of whether or not he's even looking into it. Again, this was a response, but it was kind of him continuing to leave her on red. So you're taking everything. That's what they're saying, right? That's what he's saying. They're taking everything, but he has a squeamish way of talking. You notice that? A very squeamish way of talking. So he can kind of remove himself from anything that comes his way. Like if something happened to her, he would be able to say, oh, well, what do you mean? I said that we were looking into everything. You know, like he still has that, a lot of plausible deniability in the way that he talks. He won't say anything for sure, because if he says they're looking into it, then that means they're looking into the French. And if they're looking into the French, whoa, what's going on? That's nuts. That's international news. I already talked to you guys about this in another episode. It's a really big thing if this is real. Because then what do you say, right? One person even said, I saw them on X. They were like, how is this not an act of war if this is verified? And it's like, yeah, that's a question to ask. What happens with the relations? What happens with the Ukraine-Russia peace deal? What happens with a bunch of different things? You know? So, I don't know, man. I don't know. You know, and then you have this, and I know Candace talked about this guy, but I got to talk about him a little bit too. Cam Higbee. He asks the Pentagon press secretary, this lovely lady right here, he asks her about what's going on with Candace and if there is a credible threat. And the way that they both handle it, again, first off, this response, very worrisome, because he won't even say Candace's name. If I'm her and I'm watching that, I'm like, not only did she give them information, when it's brought up, he won't even say her name, and he won't even say that he's actively looking into it, right? And then you have to remember, she even said, I do not know who I can trust in the American government, since the sources say our leaders are aware. So far, that statement checks out with the way Kash is answering. But we dig deeper. We go to Cam and see how this question is answered. A very serious question.
Absolutely. I'm Kingsley Wilson. I'm the press secretary here at the Pentagon. We're in the Pentagon briefing room, and it's been fantastic. Get to come to the Pentagon every day, and now you all do as well.
Yeah. So this is my first question, and don't laugh. Does the DOW have any evidence at all of a French military plot to assassinate Candace Owens?
That is an interesting question. Not that I'm aware of, but, you know, interesting question. I can try to find out and maybe let you know. I think that might be more of a law enforcement matter, though. Absolutely. I'm Kingsley.
Absolutely amazing. Just kind of, again, imagine you're Candace. You have some dude who's clearly like an operative, and I'll get into that in a second. You have a lady she's a press secretary for Department of War. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? And then you have this guy sitting there being like, any American, I don't know, we accept things. I don't know, stuff comes to our desk. And then we put it on Pam's desk. Sometimes it disappears. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. It's all up in the air sometimes, you know? I'm really busy with my girlfriend's country music career. You have to understand, she's a great lady. You understand? She smells like honey. I don't know why. I make that joke a lot. But you have these three things going on right now, these two things. And that would be very worrisome for me. They laugh. First off, this guy is fielding the question. Megyn Kelly asking the question is like, okay, you know, she's going to ask those type of questions. She's going to get to it. You know, friends with Tucker. You know, she's received some backlash for defending Candace in the slightest. She's ready for that backlash. She can handle it. But this guy asking this question, that's a sign. Now, Candace may not realize this, right? I heard her talk about this guy a little bit, right? She doesn't realize this, but this guy, I did some digging into this guy. If you look into this guy's Instagram, right? And you scroll down, scroll down, you know, he has a trip there where he goes to Philadelphia. Oh, wow. Surprise, surprise. So he takes a trip to Philadelphia, has a great time. It's fantastic. You know what I mean? You know, once you move the bodies out of the way, it gets real nice. But I'm joking. I guess. I don't know. But he goes over there. He goes over to that strip, you know, the G strip. That's, you know, Philadelphia. You know what I mean? He goes over there. He comes back. That's aside from the point. That's just something I thought stood out to me. But you go into the content that he's making. I can just show you guys this. You go into the content he's making. Let me show you guys something here. Where's Cam? Hey, Cam. He also made a video about how elitist Candace is because she called him elitist. He's like, I'm not elitist. I'm not elitist. You are. You're a millionaire. It's like the argument's basically who's more elite. It's like this guy's not too shabby. I mean, like you're sitting here with who you sitting here with? Oh, are you in the White House? Oh, I'm not elitist. You're elitist. You're in the White House, bro. Okay, and you're pointing at people with doing a cool pose. I'm just saying. All right. You know, you're with this lady, not elitist, you know, but he's not really. He's more like an operative again. But if you scroll down, keep going, you start to see the kind of content that he's making. You see this content, right? He's going places, he's seeing things, he's doing these little videos here and there. Then he goes to Philadelphia, says it's great. This is March 9th. He goes to Philadelphia, right? Has a great time. You know, just a fantastic time. And then you see that as he goes here, as this happens, the passing of the great Charlie Kirk, right? The second he passes, all of a sudden, his content changes. And now he becomes this guy. Now, a lot of people criticized Braylon Hollyland, I believe his name is, or something like that, that young kid, because everybody was like, and let me tell you something. Oh, I talked about this with my friend. Okay, I have to go through that in a second. But a lot of people criticized Braylon Hollyhand for trying to replace Charlie as soon as Charlie passed away. He was like, oh, we're going to talk to schools, and I got a tour set up, and he's like on a private jet being like, the thing is, you know, we're all real young here, and, you know, we're just trying to make America the best thing ever. And, you know, I just want to go and talk to the kids. And it's like, are you on a private jet, bro? Are you 18 and you're on a private jet? You know, I was just talking to my dad before he left over to go to Raytheon. And I was just like, Dad, you know, how do we just make America better, you know? And we're just trying to figure it out. Right? And then he left with Bill Clinton. You know how that goes, you know. Old Uncle Bill, I call him. And I'm just trying to figure it out. We're grassroots here. What? You in a private jet, bro? Are you kidding me right now? I've been on a plane 3 times in my life. Actually, maybe like 5, maybe 6 or something. Private jet. You're 18? What? What? I used to pick up cigarette butts and smoke them when I was 18. What? Okay, cool. Good for you, I guess. But a lot of people criticized that kid, but nobody really criticized Cam when he did the exact same thing. He tried to replace Charlie. Now, let's hold that thought for a second. I have to say, and I know, I got, you guys know me. I get weird sometimes. This video is for sure staged. I know. Okay, I can't even say that. Okay, maybe, allegedly, perhaps. Okay, I forget where I am, what platform I'm on right now. Okay, it's not. But let's just sometimes things like this are, maybe allegedly, perhaps. Okay, let's just say that. But look at this. Look at this video. Let me just play this.
Oh, you're not gonna. Oh, so I'm just gonna educate people. So mutual combat is a law where two people can decide. They can agree. They can say, hey, we would like to resolve our differences via some sort of just physical, fair conflict, right? You just, hey, we're just gonna go at each other, right, for a little bit. Work it out. It's one of those things that I actually really like this law, because people like Cam Higbee will just sit here and do this information, and they will just keep doing it forever until somebody stops them, because we've constructed an environment, we've constructed a society where people can do.
Let me just be clear. There's no, I can't say for sure things, okay? Perhaps, maybe, allegedly, this seems like absolutely fake stuff that we're watching here. Yeah, I can't mince my words. This seems fake, okay? They're at a college campus. There's no one around. And for some reason, this guy knows Cam's name. How does he know your full name? And he's like, Cam Higbee, okay? It's just so weird. So this happens a day after Charlie passes away. This guy's here doing this. And then he has this altercation with the one guy who's there. So not only is there no one there, but the one guy who's there, I know I'm getting off topic. I'm going to get back to Kash Patel in a second. This really annoys me. The one guy who's there just happens to hate him. Just knows who he is and just happens to hate him. That's really interesting to me. I'm just saying. Listen. We all watch Candace here, okay? We just listened to a live where she talked about maroon shirts, and the maroon shirts actually ended up checking out, okay? If she can talk about maroon shirts, you got to listen to me here when I'm talking about this. I'm telling you, this is not real. There are some things on social media. Let me finish. There are some things on social media that are just not real, and they seem very real. This is not real. This is an act. Okay, I'm completely off topic. Okay, let's just keep going. But as soon as Charlie passes away, this guy's content changes. This is the thing. This is also how you know it's fake. I'm so sorry. I have to go into this. This is how you know it's fake. Okay, Charlie passes away. The next clip he posts is of someone going after him while he's set up exactly like Charlie was when Charlie first started. Come on, man. I'm telling you guys. I hope somebody's with me on this. I really do, because man, this really stands out to me. Like, oh, this guy just comes up. There's 3 people within a 4-mile radius, and one of the people happen to walk by you, and they're like, I kind of hate you, buddy. Well, let's have it out. Mutual combat. Fight me. I challenge you to a duel. Out of the nobody that's there, you find the craziest person in the world who wants to challenge you to a duel in mutual combat. I'm just saying. I think it's fake. But let me go on with my point. His content completely changes as soon as Charlie dies. As soon as Charlie's gone, his content completely changes, and he becomes Charlie. He tries his damnedest to become Charlie. Very, very hard to become Charlie, right? And he's constantly, posting Ben Shapiro clips. He's doing all the things you're supposed to do in order to make that happen. But all of a sudden, there's a massive push to make the exact same content as Charlie Kirk. The exact same thing. And then, just seemingly nobody, he ends up at the White House. It's interesting. He does a bunch of things. This guy's not Nick Shirley. He just ends up at the White House, and he's there now. And then the next thing you know, he's talking to the press secretary of the Pentagon. What? How does that happen so quickly? You know what I mean? Now, the reason that I'm going so hard on this is because I have to stay congruent in my thinking, and I invite all of you to do the same. You ever hear about Harry Sisson? Okay, if you don't know who Harry Sisson is, let me just break it down. I brought this up before and I didn't get into it. I'm going to get into it now. Harry Sisson is a guy on the left, right? And he was he was making a lot of content that was anti the now pres, and he was for the other candidate and the other candidate who was 400 years old, right? He was for that person, really for that person. And it turned out people found actual documents that he was working for a company called Pallet Management, and Pallet Management was getting contracts from the DNC. So was he getting paid by the DNC? No, but the DNC was saying, hey, we're paying you. We need some influencers who are young. We're willing to pay this much per year per influencer, and we need them to make a lot of pro DNC content. That's what we need. Pallet Management says, sure, I got a bunch of people. And the next thing you know, this Harry Sisson guy is making that type of content on a roll. And now he's on Piers Morgan, same type of guy as Cam. Now, I know Harry got paid, not directly, indirectly. I have to keep the same congruent thinking that if I see someone on my side who's doing the exact same thing, he's mirroring this Harry guy, I have to have the mindset of, he's probably getting paid somehow as well. Now, Candace said that he's on the Turning Point payroll. He actually came out and said he's not on the Turning Point payroll. Okay, that's what he says. But again, it could be indirectly. I'm not saying Turning Point's paying him, but they could. They could have a thing where they're paying certain influencers, and the next thing you know, he's just one of them, but he's actually getting paid by the middleman, right? A lot of these big companies or organizations, or, you know, whether it's Repub or Dem, they keep themselves a little bit removed so it doesn't look like they're directly paying people. They can't be doing that, right? I'm so sorry I had to go into all that. I really think this guy's fake. And again, it's not my bias because I side with Candace. I can be biased, but I'm not blind. And this is me not being blind. This guy's on my side. I agree with a lot of stuff this Cam guy says. But when I look at what he's doing and how he's skyrocketing right now, and how he changed his content the second Charlie passed away, like as if there was this gap that needed to be filled, it makes me go, oh, okay, I see what's going on. I understand perfectly. I get it now. I'm so sorry. This episode is about Candace not trusting people, but I think this kind of speaks to it, because how on earth could you possibly trust this guy asking this question? This was planned, and it was made to make Candace seem like she's nuts. That's exactly what's going on here. Okay, let's move on. Candace actually calls it out. She says our government is so out of touch with the American people that they actually think this is hip and cool. Exactly. It's exactly the same thing. Like, again, this guy is around the now pres. He is in the White House. He's making content like Charlie. He goes to Philadelphia regularly. I mean, what else does that look like? Again, I know there's some people, you may not believe it because you're on a certain side. Your side has corrupt people too. You always have to remember that. Always. Anyway, Kash Patel. Kash Patel is the exact same guy who actually said this when it came to the burn bags that he found in a room. He said he was going to bring us all the information when it came to I'll call them the E-files. You know about those files with that gentleman who passed away? Kinda, maybe, you know, Jeff. You know Jeff, right? I'm going to call them the E-files, okay?
And that's what we did. That's what we're doing. That's how we found it. And we're going to continue to expose it. And you're going to see everything we found in that room in one way or another, be it through investigation, public trial, or disclosure to the Congress.
So that is Kash Patel saying that he is going to give everyone the E-files. Those E-files. He says he's going to make sure that everybody gets to see this by any means necessary. However he has to do it, he's going to make sure everybody sees these files. He also said that any threat that comes in, they're taking it very seriously. But he also said nothing when Candace Owens gave him and his bureau information about what was going on. She got left on red, no response. That is her quote. Okay? So that's that guy. Flashback to March. We flash back to March where Dan Bongino, people did a Freedom of Information request on Dan Bongino on March because Dan Bongino was brought up. Let's actually look at this. And there was a redacting project that Dan Bongino was supposed to be a part of, apparently. You can see right here, says redactions. Dan Bongino, Dan J. Bongino, March 18th, 2025, 6:51 p.m. UTC-0400. Okay? This is exactly what was happening. They requested for him to help with redactions in what? You might add, well, the J files, or the E files, sorry. Jeff. Okay, he was called to do that. That's back in March. Now, let me tell you about a little something called the Special Redaction Operation. Have you heard about that? Do you know what that is? Do you know what the Special Redaction Project is? It sounds crazy. You know what it sounds like, right? Well, that's exactly what it sounds like. It is what it sounds like. The FBI spends $1 million in overtime on the Special Redaction Project. Now, what is the Special Redaction Project? Well, let's read a little bit. In late 2025, newly released internal documents revealed, let me just make sure you guys can see that, revealed, let me move this, get out of my way, there you go, revealed that the FBI, the Bureau, under Director Patel, spent nearly $1 million in overtime pay to redact the e-files as part of a classified operation known as the E-Transparency Project. Redacting files in the name of transparency. That's amazing. That's real nice. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it when it's in our faces. When it's real in our faces, that's real nice, you know? Give me the respect. Give me the respect of being like, I can't fool this guy. I'm just going to throw it in his face. Like, cool. Thanks, man. Thanks. Really appreciate it. Also internally referred to as the Special Redaction Project. According to records obtained by the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA lawsuit, the Bureau mobilized 934 agents during the week of March 17th to 2022. That's a lot of files to go through. Yeah, no wonder they spent so much. That's a short time. That's a very short time. Incurring $851,000 in overtime costs alone during that period. The effort was at the center of the Bureau's Central Records Complex in Winchester, Virginia, where agents underwent crash training to review and redact over 100,000 pages of unreleased documents, along with 300 plus gigabytes of digital data from computers, storage devices, and CDs. That's old school CDs. Jeez. I mean, that guy was at this for a while. This guy's back with CDs. That's crazy. Why can't I just, let me just, okay, there you go. The material included sensitive evidence such as surveillance footage, search warrant execution photos, aerial imagery, and documents with names believed to be the client list, right? This is wild. Very, very wild. And again, the reason that I'm showing you this is, first off, I don't see a lot of people talking about it. That is something to know. You know, especially when you have this guy talking about how transparent he is and we're running down everything. And 33 hours. We did it in 33 hours. Did you do it or did he turn himself in? Which is it? Which is it? Tyler turned himself in or you did it in 33 hours? Why do you got to tell me 33? Why do you got to say that to me like that? I know what that means, okay? Because it wasn't even 33 hours. You know that, right? It was actually more. It was like 35. They just rounded it down to 33. What? Why? You know why. Anyway, let's just go into this a little bit. The verifications and public reaction. Multiple fact-checking outlets, including Snopes, Media Bias, Fact Check, have verified the authenticity of the overtime records, confirming the amount expenditure for agent overtime during the redaction push. While the documents confirm the financial outlay and the project's existence, they do not definitively prove that the sole purpose was to remove now Prez name. Public reaction has been critical, with legal experts and political commentators questioning the use of taxpayer funds for what is described as a politically motivated action, I'll say. The operation has drawn comparisons to past attempts to suppress sensitive investigations, further fueling debate over executive overreach, etc. So, this is the same guy that Candace is going to. This is the same bureau that Candace is reaching out to, saying, "Hey, can you help me? Can you verify this?" After she already said that her sources are like, your leaders know. If your leaders know, I mean, you have to put it out there, just like, same way she put it out on X, she does have to put it through the proper channels so it is there and documented. But I mean, I don't want to say what's the point. I get what the point is, but how on earth do you put your confidence in those people knowing that they're doing things like that? And then they make the documents that they're going through look like this. This is Thomas Massey here. He's holding them. Look at it. Look at it. Look at that. Those aren't dark words, guys. It's just redacted. They paid almost $1 million. So when you go and look at these files, that's what you see a lot of the time. Maybe not every time. I'm sure there's some words. I'm sure there's some thes and some they and some and things of that nature. It's nuts. 50 pages. He said the first 50 pages. That's what it looks like. Not readable. These are the people who you have to trust will help Candace if anything's happening right now. Isn't that something? This doesn't have to do with the story at all, but I really do like the fact that Kash Patel ordered agents to drive his girlfriend, Alex's intoxicated friend home at least 2 occasions. He's a gentleman. He's a gentleman. Nah, I think he's a straight up gentleman. That's a gentlemanly thing to do. That's nice. In one instance, Patel yelled at the head of Wilkins' security detail, yelled at him to carry out the request on behalf of his girlfriend. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, he should, because she's a country music sensation, and you're supposed to protect those type of people at all costs. What are we talking about here? Are you kidding me? He's got to protect his honey, And I don't mean honey pot. I don't even know what that term means. That's not what I meant. I mean, she's a very nice lady, and we men hold our ladies sacred like pots of honey. That's just a thing, That's what I do. That's how I feel. Anyway, this also kind of makes what Candace had to say here. Is it here? It is here. It's so funny. That's what her face looks like.
There is such a thing.
There you go. A better face there. But it makes what she said in this clip make a lot more sense. Now, what she says is that there are some good feds, and that these feds, these good people, actually let her know that Turning Point was trying to get the story about the Egyptian planes killed. Okay, trying to get that story pushed aside, trying to get it so they can maybe, do something like Cam did with that lady and just make it a laughable thing, something to discredit that story, right? And the reason this actually does that is because there apparently are a group of what Candace would call good feds who are saying right now the FBI, the Bureau, is a rudderless ship under Kash and Dan Bongino, who are accused of being preoccupied with social media and building personal resumes. Now, I do have to say they are on social media quite a bit, and they do have a background in social media. So I would guess that they are focusing on social media quite a bit. I mean, that would just make perfect sense to me. Now, this woman wrote a whole report about that. And again, all of this came from people who are on the inside. There are active people and there are retired people, and they all have this inside information, and they're saying what they're seeing right now at the Bureau is actually pretty much shambles, and that the leadership is not really the best type of leadership. Now, my guess is because those two men have another nation in mind when they are doing what they're supposed to be doing for the American people. You know me, I call that place Philadelphia. That, I think, is why it feels like there's no leadership, because they're being led. And if they're being led, by external forces, girlfriends, whatever, what have you, then it's going to feel like there's no leadership, right? If they're getting in front of cameras and being like, oh, well, I'll tell you, I can tell you, I'm telling you right now, you don't have to trust me, you don't have to like me, I'm giving you the truth. I mean, and you can tell that they're not really looking super truthful, trying to be very charitable here. But that woman who said that there is a bunch of good feds, as Candace would call them, was actually verifying or helping verify what Project Veritas had known for about 4 months, that the redemption and resurrection of this proud agency will never be achieved unless there is full transparency. Now, they released these text messages, but I mean, and listen, this is not how it actually looks. They're just doing this so you know who's who in these correspondence. Things aren't going well here today because of this. Pam is investigating who's leaking information. So that's a current person in there who is now possibly going to get found out. Project Veritas says that's good news all around. Now, I assume they're saying blank, and they're saying that's good news all around because blank, right? And they're blanking out the names as well. She forbade anyone from commenting on the case. I doubt Patel will say anything. Pam is hoping this doesn't reach the White House. So there are some good feds out there, as Candace said, and they are bringing good information out there. But again, these are the people you have to depend on, as Candace Owens, to help the right thing take place, for them to defend her lives. Now, I will say in closing, right, this is not the first time that Candace has had this sad interaction with the Bureau. This is not the first time this has happened. I forget how long ago it was. It was episode 187. So think about how much time would have passed. I'm pretty sure it was episode 187. I could be wrong. But she talks about how there was a credible threat. There was a chat room with about 40 people, and one of them was actually making threats of what they were going to do to Candace. And she went with that information. Now, in that situation, the person was arrested. They may be facing jail time. They may not be facing jail time. We don't know. But she does talk about how they didn't really get back to her. They didn't really stay in touch with her. It was kind of touch and go. It was almost like they didn't care, kind of thing. They handled the job. They did what they were supposed to do. They arrested somebody. But for the most part, they weren't in touch with her. They weren't reassuring her of what was going on. It sounds a lot like what's happening now. So I'm just saying, if Candace has to depend on these guys, she's better off just beefing up her security massively, in my opinion. Because you know what? When she released this statement, I think this is the truest thing. I think she can completely listen to her source when it comes to this. I do not know who you could trust in the American gov can be trusted, since this source claims the leaders are aware. It seems like it. They're laughing. You have people who are Department of War laughing about it. Literally an operative and someone in the Department of War laughing about your situation. You have Ben Shapiro making jokes about your situation. You have Kash Patel, who won't even say your name when he's asked about you and whether or not he's looking into the threat. I mean, if that was me and I was seeing all that, I'd be terrified. I'd be terrified, because that would tell me that source, that information that was given to her is 100% real, because they're operating like people that know, and they're trying to make this seem like something laughable. And the only reason they would make it seem like it's something laughable is because it's actually happening and they don't want her to know, and they have no problem with however it turns out. That's a big problem. A very big problem. I just wanted to leave you guys on a high note there. Anyways, guys, I let this go way too long. You know, that Cam Higbee part, man, I had to get into that. You have to know that even on your side, whatever your side is, you have to know that there is so much financial incentive to what we do. There's so much. You have no idea. There's so much. So you have to understand, it's not just the people you don't like that are corrupted and will give into that type of financial thing. The people who are on your side, even the ones that you do like, they have the capability, they have the potential to give into that same thing. I'm just saying, because I see it all around. I can't name names. I kind of did with Cam. I'm not saying that he actually is taking money from anywhere, but he mirrors the exact path of someone on the left that was. You see what I mean? Anyways, guys, just wanted to bring that to you. I'm out of here.